Everybody, welcome to the Write or Die Show. I am your host, Randi-lee Boslaw. On today's episode, I'm going to be talking to Keith Guernsey. Welcome, Keith. So excited to have you on the show.
Thank you, Randy. I'm thrilled to be here, and I thank you for having me on the show.
So, tell everybody a little bit about who you are.
Okay. I am a retired sales executive turned author, and I'm also a two-time cancer survivor and a two-time brain surgery survivor. I have also fought and won a 2-decade-long battle with morbid obesity. I live in Gainesville, Georgia, on Lake Lanier with my lovely wife, Susan, and our 4-foot adopted daughter, Zoe. And I love to write, love to read. I love to work out in the gym. I'm in the gym every morning at 5 o'clock, getting my health and my strength back. And I am at the point now where at 69 years young, I feel better and healthier, both mentally and physically, than at any time since I stopped playing hockey when I was 28.
Wow, that's fantastic. Just goes to show that no matter how old you get or young you get, you can still do anything that you want to do.
Absolutely, absolutely. Someone, Randy, much wiser than I, which encompasses a lot of people, once said, God doesn't give you anything that you can't handle. And in my case, I found that to be very, very true. And I write to, as I mentioned in the pre-interview questionnaire, I write to leave a legacy for my grandsons, my 2 grandsons, but I also write to help inspire people and give them hope from, learn from my experiences that you absolutely can overcome life's bumps in the road, if you will, and emerge stronger at the end of whatever issues you're going through. Yes, you absolutely are stronger than you think. No question. No question.
So, was the brain surgeries and the cancer related, or are those two completely separate?
No, totally unrelated. The brain surgery, the first one was in 1995, which is why I am wearing a headset, because the only lasting memory, or not memory, but lasting thing I have from the brain surgery is that I'm totally deaf in my left ear.
Oh, okay.
So that's why I have a headset on. But I had a 10-hour operation in 1995 to remove a benign tumor called an acoustic neuroma. In 96, I met my lovely wife, Susan, through a personal ad. It was a blind date to an ad that she placed in a newspaper. And that completely changed my life. Before that time, I had been single for 17 years, a bachelor for 17, and I wasn't doing well in terms of, going down the wrong path, drinking too much, partying too much, et cetera, et cetera. And I met Susan, and that totally changed my life. And then I had the tumor came back in 97, so I had another 12-hour operation, and this one was much more extensive, so that they get the surrounding tumor cells. And I had very bad headaches. So all I could do was eat and eat and eat some more. And I hit the scales and weighed 340 pounds.
Wow.
And I knew that at that weight, I'm only 5'9". So even though I'm stocky build, a former football player, I knew that Susan and I would not have a long, happy, healthy life together. So I started working out, getting back in shape, and slowly and surely, the weight started to come off, and I lost 157 pounds.
Wow.
And then in 2018, another turning point came about when I was diagnosed with prostate cancer. And I had successful prostate cancer surgery, but a follow-up routine visit yielded high levels of protein in my blood, and I was sent across the hall to a hematologist and told that I had multiple myeloma, which is a rare form of blood cancer. And I have had it for 3 years now, but I am in my second year of remission, and feeling great. I'm in a special program that if any cancer or multiple myeloma patients would like to see, it would be my pleasure to send it to them. I've adhered to my 6-step program, and it's gotten me to where I am today. And as I say, feeling better at 69 than at any time since I was 28. So
That's awesome to hear.
Yeah.
So actually I had my cancer in 2018 too. So
wow,
um so it was cervical cancer, and
wow,
I had surgery, and yeah, they took out all those bad parts. And I know that during that time it was pretty hard to mentally deal with when
yeah,
you that big C word, right? So can you tell
yeah.
us how that made you feel?
Well, it was kind of like I was, when I saw the word cancer, I thought, this can't happen to me. It's going to happen to someone else.
Mm.
Um, Sitting at the kitchen table, having lunch, doctor calls, and he said, "You have prostate cancer." And the look on my face was such that Susan was starting to reach over and grab the phone because she knew what was happening. And I was able to compose myself and um, say, I'm a bottom line kind of guy, and say, okay, what do we do about it? And
Yeah.
he gave me my options. I said, I want the surgery. I want it out.
Mhm.
And they did take it out. But it's one of those things that you never think it's going to happen to you. But when it happens to you, you deal with it as best you can. And in my case, a lot of the credit goes to my lovely wife, Susan, who was my rock, my caregiver, um, quite out of sheer necessity. She never planned to do this, but she did it,
Yeah.
and she did a phenomenal job. But she even wrote an addendum to my newest book, On the Road to Remission,
Oh, cool.
about, you know, being the sole caregiver, because my rest of my family was back in Boston, and her family spread around the country. So it was just her, and she learned to do it, and she did a great job. And we've emerged stronger for um, that experience. And now we're just sailing along. We're writing again. She's written a new book also.
Cool. So you're
I've
both
written,
authors.
yeah, we're both authors, and it keeps me on my toes, since I'm a very competitive individual, and I never want to be the second best author in my own household.
Love that.
Yeah, really.
I'm kind of competitive too, so I totally get that. Um, so how long was it between when you had the prostate cancer surgery to when you were told that you had this rare form of blood cancer?
Very, very rare, very short time, about 3 months. It was just a routine follow-up visit. And, he wasn't a specialist. He was a urologist. He said, you have high levels of protein in your blood. I'm going to send you to a hematologist. And I've been very fortunate. I have had the best medical care, bar none, that I can ever, that I can ever think of. I've been very fortunate in that respect.
Oh, that's so good to hear.
Yeah, it was wonderful, and best care all around. Doctors, nurses, staff.
Good.
As I said, Susan was great.
So during that 3 month period, then when you were in between the two cancers,
Right.
what did that feel like? Because now it's kind of like, all right, you took care of the prostate cancer, I've had the surgery, I'm good to go and live the rest of my life. What was that kind of 3 months?
Right. I was ecstatic. As a matter of fact, in my third book, Overcoming the Odds, I talk about dancing. Getting the diagnosis that I was totally cancer free, and dancing out of the doctor's office. And if you've ever seen a chubby old guy dance down the hall, you'll know it's a sight to behold. But I
Picturing
got a
it.
lot of strange looks, but I didn't really care. I thought, I'm good. I'm cancer free. Susan and I are going to enjoy the last third of our life, and cancer free, and she's healthy, and we're going to travel the world. And everything's just hunky-dory. And then, you hear that you have another form of cancer, and it's like, not again, but
Yeah.
you deal with it. Once the shock wears off, you
Mhm.
deal with it and you map out a plan to beat it.
Okay,
And
so it sounds like by then you had some good coping skills to deal with that emotional component of the cancer.
I did. I was very fortunate. Um, and it's one of those things where you can go one of two ways. You can crawl into a hole and sink into depression and let the cancer take over your life, or you can fight back with every ounce of strength you have and, make the changes you need to make. In my case, the exercise, nutrition, the big component. I've always been a big beer and pizza kind of guy, and you make the changes that Susan's downstairs now cooking Brussels sprouts. So
Nice.
um, and those are the type of changes you make because you
Mhm.
want to live a long, healthy, happy life.
Yeah. So share with us some of those coping skills that you did use during that time to not let the depression kind of take you down.
Just cultivating and maintaining a positive attitude, looking around, seeing, you know, Susan by my side and our new adopted dog gives us a lot of joy and pleasure bouncing around the house. Um, Friends and family. I felt I had to be strong for Susan, but also for my family back in Boston, my son, daughter-in-law, our two grandsons. Um, and it's how I deal with, those type of situations, in terms of being, I like to always consider myself mentally and physically strong and tough.
Okay. I love that the mental toughness wording. I talk about that in my book, that
Yeah,
the mental toughness, it has its whole own chapter because it's really about the resiliency and your story,
it
it
is.
started way back in 95 with brain surgery. You've had to deal with a lot of resilience. Like you've had to build that up because this is what, four times you've had really bad news. Like
Yeah,
that most people couldn't even imagine having, right? So it's nice that you've built that resilience from way back at the beginning of this journey, right, in 95 to your most recent um, diagnosis. What have you learned in that time to help build that resiliency?
just to deal with each day life's bumps in the road, if you will, and just, again, cultivate and maintain a positive attitude. And I do that a lot through my writing. Um, I try to help people. I'm a myeloma coach. I work with Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. For me, a lot of it has to do with giving back to the community, and
Okay.
giving back to charity. Realizing I've been very fortunate in my life. Yes, I've had these issues, but again, um, I firmly believe that God gave this to me because I'm strong enough to handle them.
Mm-hmm.
There are other people that I've met, that I've coached, maybe not so much. I feel very strongly that, I am, as your sign says, I am stronger than I think, um, and that I've been given those things because I'm equipped to deal with them.
Yeah. And it also, I mean, not just you were equipped to deal with them, but you were equipped to help others deal with them by the
Right,
sound.
right. And I've done that, a lot of that with the coaching, with, going on Facebook to the multiple myeloma support groups and sharing my 6-step plan, if you will, for dealing with this form of cancer. Or for that matter, you can extrapolate and make it relevant to any form of cancer in terms of,
Mhm.
the nutrition and the exercise and whatnot.
Yeah. So I know from my own experience that now every time something hurts or, something doesn't feel quite right, I have kind of a bit of a flashback to, oh my goodness, is this cancer? And actually, this morning at 3 a.m., I had to go for an MRI checkup just to.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I wasn't even sure how tired I was going to be right now, but I was able to get back to sleep, so it's okay. um, so hopefully in 5 to 10 business days, we'll have some more good news. But
Yeah, really, I'll keep my fingers crossed for you.
with that being said, like I said, every time that kind of happens, especially with going for the checkup test, there is that little piece of me that goes, oh no, what if it's back? Right? So
Yeah.
do you experience that same kind of little mini freak out every now and again?
And I really don't. I believe in, myself, my family, a higher power that's, now going to let me be healthy for the next, X amount of years or X amount of decades so that Susan and I can accomplish our goals. We met later in life, so I told her that we will dance at 95 years of age on our 50th wedding anniversary. And
Oh, that's great.
when I first said that to her, I wasn't sure, if we could make that happen. Now I'm sure I can, because people with multiple myeloma are living longer and longer and longer. I just talked to a young lady who's 31 years with multiple myeloma. So,
Oh, that's awesome. It's so
yeah,
good to hear that. And yeah, I'm so glad to hear that you have embraced kind of the fact that this is where you are in life. You can't change where you are in life, but you can look at all the positives
right.
that come from it, which is really amazing and can be a difficult thing sometimes. But it's nice to hear that you've been able to do that. It sounds like you have a great support system as
I
well.
do. I'm very fortunate. Even though a lot of the family is, thousands of miles away, they're in constant contact with FaceTime and phone calls and texts and what have you. But yeah, I have a wonderful support system. All my buddies back in Boston, my lifelong friends, um, and friends here at. You probably can't see it behind me, but there was a
Be a
huge
little welcome home or something.
welcome home, Keith.
Okay.
It was the one time I really lost it. Um, after being in the hospital for several months, pulling into the driveway and seeing this signed banner stretched across the garage door saying "Welcome home, Keith." That was when I always thought of of myself as a tough former football and hockey player, and don't show any outward emotions. But fortunately, there was nobody around to see this except Susan. But I burst into tears, when I saw that. It was unbelievable. Talk about the best welcome home present. And I feel like I want to be a role model for my myeloma patients,
Mhm.
my fellow patients, my fellow Crestwinders here. There's 1,700 of us at an active adult community.
Okay.
And I've had some say, "You're my hero, you're a walking miracle." And I love it when people do that.
Mhm. That's awesome. Um, I had a question and then it kind
Sure.
of popped out of my head. So give me one sec to remember it.
Yeah, take your time, dear. I have all day.
That happens to me. What time is it for you? That wasn't my question, but I'm curious.
No, it's 9:21 a.m. I'm on Eastern
Okay.
Standard Time.
So she's making Brussels sprouts early in the morning?
Yeah, yeah.
I
She
never
does
considered.
that. She does that. We're early risers. We're up with Zoe around 4 o'clock.
I was just crawling to my next
Our dog. She has to go out to take care of Biz, around 4 or 5 o'clock.
bed.
I go to the gym at 5 every morning.
Yeah.
I'm in the
Oh,
gym for
nice.
an hour. Yeah.
That's fantastic. I remember my question.
Okay.
Um, so you've talked a lot about positive attitude and positive perspective, which is great. What is something that people can implement for themselves that you have found works to keep that positive attitude going?
Well, you just remember that every day is a great day because it beats the alternative. Someone once told me that many years ago. Every day is a great day because it beats the alternative, and it really does. You know, to my way of thinking, any day that you waste by being bummed out or depressed or whatever you want to call it is a wasted day. Life is very short. You have to live each day to the max, to the fullest. And if you're having, depressive spells or whatever the case may be, make some changes. Call me, email me, whatever. I'll talk you through, living your best life, so to speak, and I'll share with you passages from one of my books that, my readers say is inspiring, is uplifting. And I know, in this time of a pandemic, it's a lot harder to do,
Yeah.
but it can be done. It can be done.
Wonderful. And what would you say to somebody who maybe just got the C word diagnosis and they're not sure what the heck to do with themselves? What's your advice?
Well, first step is, you have to kind of come to terms with it and look to how are you going to beat it? Okay. You got to map out a plan. In my case, you have, number one step is find the best medical care. I have and I've been very fortunate to have that, but I have a myeloma patient that I'm coaching that was uncertain about, her doctor's treatment and diagnosis. So I said, you need to get a second opinion. And she said, well, I don't want to offend my doctor. And I said, patients have the opportunity or the right to get a second opinion. Doctors hear that all day long, that, I want a second opinion. Everyone, should feel comfortable with the medical care. And if you're not comfortable with your medical care, get a second opinion. And if need be, get a third opinion. But it starts with, being certain that you have the absolute best medical care possible. And I'll give you an example in my case with the multiple myeloma. I didn't know this doctor, so I did a lot of research on the internet and healthgrades.com, et cetera. And I also took a friend with me who has been in oncology for 36 years, the last 17 of which were over at the medical center. And she's forgotten more about, treating cancer than I will ever hope to know in my lifetime. And I took her with us, and she was kind enough to volunteer to go. She stayed the whole time, and she translated all the medical terminology into layman's terms so Susan and I could understand it.
Yeah,
I called her that weekend and I said, Angie, is this the absolute best possible course of treatment for me? And she said, absolutely. And in retrospect, it's been 2 years and she was right.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Sometimes that Dr. Ease is not the easiest thing to understand.
Exactly. And in my case, when somebody says the C word for a second time, you kind of go into like a trance, almost like a fog, and like a fog of denial, if you will. And thankfully she was there. She's heard it all before. So she was able to, as I say, interpret and translate into layman's terms. So Susan and I could understand it. And it's been great.
That's so good. Now, where can people find your books? Tell us a little bit about those.
Well, they're all 4 on Amazon. You just have to type into Keith Guernsey, and I'll spell it for you. In the Amazon search window is Keith. Last name is spelled Guernsey. They can also find me on Facebook and on Twitter. Anyone who is a cancer patient and would like to receive a copy of my 6-point plan for success, I call it, is welcome to email me at thegurns2005@yahoo.com. And I'll also spell that because I'm told I still have a little bit of my Boston accent, even though we've been down here for 16 years. Yeah, it's T Tom, H Henry, E Edward, G George, U Unique, R Robert, N Nancy, S Sugar 2005 at yahoo.com. And again, they can find me on Facebook, Twitter. Welcome to contact me at any time. I'll be happy to shoot over my 6-point plan for dealing with cancer.
That is fantastic. And all of those links will be down in the description below so people can very easily click on them and find you.
Great.
You gotta make it easy. When we're dealing with a lot of stuff, making it too complicated just makes it harder to deal with.
Exactly.
Well, thank you, Keith, so much
Oh,
for
it was my
being
pleasure. And thank you for having me on. I appreciate it. It was great.
welcome. I hope everybody enjoyed that episode. It was really cool to talk to Keith. And I know just having cancer the one time, I couldn't imagine having another one come up. And I'm so glad that he's been in remission now for 2 years. That's amazing. And he's using that experience to help other people, which is such an awesome thing to be doing. And that's kind of, the premise of the show here is using our own experiences and sharing it so that other people feel like they've got some kind of commonality with us. And it is so good because we are stronger than we think. And we need to remember that is so important. Hit up his links in the description below. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Share the episode out to everybody. If you want, you can check out our merch store. We've got a few different designs on there, and 10% of the proceeds go to the Canadian Mental Health Association because, I'm in Canada, even though a lot of the guests are from the States, which is amazing. And I love when I get people from all over the world. It's so cool. We never know who's going to be on the show next or where they're going to be from. As well, we do have a Patreon page if you wanted to support through that way. It's greatly appreciated. Remember, the only way to end the stigma of mental health is to speak openly and honestly.